And what's up, everybody? We are back for another Wednesday edition of Foundations of DeFi. I'm your co-host Marlon, and I have Reggie Middleton with me here today. How you doing today, sir?
I am fine, sir.
I'm glad to hear. Go ahead and get your tweet off so we can get some more people going in the live stream.
Okay. You
So
could talk
again,
to me.
what? All right, no problem. All right, again, welcome back, everybody. I think we have a solid name now, Reggie, for the show, Foundations of DeFi. So we're gonna go ahead and use that for now. Um, Hopefully, the DeFi buzzwords will pop up in the algorithm a little bit more. But for today, Reggie, looking at some of your new findings that you have in your research include investment in ETFs surrounded around cryptocurrencies.
Okay. ETFs and investment trusts, because ETFs are specific, or ETFs and investment vehicles. Okay. And I'm going to explain the difference. And I'm multitasking, sending the speed at the one time. So
You all
give me
good.
like 10 seconds on this. Okay.
You all
Um,
good. You all good, sir.
in the meantime, actually, you can just Google, put on the screen, ETN, ETF, and investment trust. So you could Google that, Wikipedia, and just put it on the screen so the crowd can see the difference. I'll discuss it in a minute.
Got you. So let's see. Let me share my screen real quick. All right, and just so everybody knows what's going on. All right, so a unit trust versus an ETF. A unit trust is a fund that typically holds specific assets in specific quantities and passes profits and income to its investors. Essentially, these investors are beneficiaries under the trust. An ETF is a security that tracks the index, such as the S&P 500, but trades like a stock on the exchange. Now, the difference to me sounds like the ETF, you're more so just trading that combination of all those stocks that are combined into one index, whereas the trust uh, holds those assets and you're basically investing in that trust and they pass back to you some of the returns that they get. Is that fair to say, Reggie, on the difference between the two?
You know what? Let me join this conversation right now. Okay.
All good.
Now, say it again for me.
So I was saying the difference between, from the definition of looking up here, the main difference is with an ETF, you're investing in the collection of the stocks that is included in that index, whereas a trust, you're more so investing in the trust that's holding those assets. You're getting returns back that the trust is receiving themselves. You're just getting a percentage of that after paying them a fee, basically, of maintaining those assets. Is that accurate?
Well, ETF can potentially be a trust in and of itself. An ETF is an exchange-traded fund where the trust units are represented, or whatever the investment vehicle used, those units are represented by actual shares traded on a stock exchange. Okay, so and it could be traded on the S&P 500. I mean, on the S&P. Sorry, it could be traded on New York
S&P,
Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, etc., the Canadian Stock Exchange. Investment trust, ETF would be like the crypto large cap fund, if there is such a thing. I'm sure there's something like that. Or the triple bear gold fund, a triple bull, 3 times bull gold fund. Those are trusts that have an investment thesis, a theme, but you can participate in that by actually buying shares on the stock exchange through a local broker. Investment trust is something like Grayscale's F fund or Grayscale's Bitcoin fund, where you can buy and sell trust units. You could do it through a broker, but it's not traded on the actual stock exchange or securities exchange, the big ones in the US. They're available in Canada, but the SEC, has a real crypto issue. So, and you have other investment vehicles such as the ETN, an exchange traded note, which is a note versus an actual trust.
Mm-hmm. So we're starting to see, it's been a conversation in the crypto space for, I would say, about the last year now of a crypto ETF. And one of the first main investment vehicles we've seen is Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust and their Ethereum Trust. Now, before we kind of dive into more, how, the difference between crypto currencies and the actual stock, it's a lot of differences in between them. So how are they creating this trust for people to invest in?
Well, the trust is created, in my opinion, because I don't, I have had dealings with the founder, but I don't know him personally. I don't know him well. Successful, smart guy. But it was created to save institutional demand for exposure to what the investors believe is an asset class. Okay. I'm saying this, I'm trying to judge my vocabulary.
Oh, I think Reggie, we lost Reggie for a second.
I hear you. I hear you.
Okay. I can hear you now.
Okay. Everything just closed up on me. Okay, so apparently someone has access to my system and did not like what I had to say. So
they gave you a warning.
Yeah. So, well, since I'm hard-headed, we're going to try this again. I was couching my words in caution because personally, as what I feel as an experienced investor, as I am, investment trusts and ETFs are absolute garbage. This is nothing personal or directed towards Grayscale, but the assets themselves are just as easy to obtain, if not easier. Actually, they're much easier to obtain than the actual investment vehicle. Sans a 2.5% management fee, the leakage and spread that you get between the actual asset and what you invest in via the trust, such as the discounts and the premiums, and all the other nonsense. And a lot of people who actually believe, and all the Wall Street banks have all these analysts and they're so smart, and all the, industry rags saying this is a new asset class, et cetera, they're wrong. Just because the SEC goes after, these projects doesn't mean that this is a security or it's an asset class. Crypto is a technology, hard stop, period. Okay.
Nothing else is nothing more than that.
Yeah, crypto is no more an asset class than the internet was or is. Just that simple.
So we still have products of the internet, though, companies that utilize it that people invest in. So is that not the same as with the crypto, where we have a token that, say, represents, like, for instance, Chainlink, just as an example, they have a token where it has a utilization, the company itself has a platform where they want to connect, where they want to build these data oracles to feed data into smart contracts, and people can invest in that. Is that not the same?
Well, it's not the same. Chainlink has a token link. It can be argued that may be a security, right? But that does not make crypto an asset class. Just like Amazon stock doesn't make the internet an asset class. Just that simple. To give you an example of
you got to explain that a little bit more. So you're saying the Amazon stock isn't a asset class?
No, Amazon stock is a stock of Amazon, and the internet is not an asset class. Just like crypto is not an asset class. Crypto as in paradigm, as in, I guess you could say, an industry or enabling technology, is very similar to the internet, the World Wide Web. Okay?
I would agree on that.
Okay, considering the asset class means you're going to get confused on the risks and the benefits of participating in this technology. These investment trusts and ETNs and ETFs are a perfect example. Okay, common stock securities, the things that the SEC should be actually regulating, according to my understanding of their mandate, has a specific set of risks and potential risks and potential rewards. Okay, they're very depending on what you invest in, but there are certain things that are standard. One thing you do not have in investing in equity is patent infringement risk, right? At the equity level, because equities at themselves are not patentable. Okay, crypto as a technology, just like the internet, is a technology. Technology, by definition, is intellectual property driven. Technology is almost purely intellectual property. You're talking like almost 100%. Okay. That being the case, if anybody invented this technology, valued this technology, or have foresight, they would aim to get patent protection. Eventually, people will succeed. If they do, then you have inherent patent infringement risk built in. This is a risk that you would never have in the stocks, never have in bonds, you never have in real estate, because those are actual investments. Crypto is actual technology. And whether you like the patent, the intellectual property system and property laws in the US or dislike it, is highly irrelevant, because Congress has codified it into law, and you have a court system that's very large and very powerful, and they enforce it and adjudicate it. So let's assume there's some tall, handsome brother who doesn't allege, but believes Ethereum, right, potentially infringes on his patented intellectual property. This is a hypothetical supposition, okay? Let's suppose that's the case. Well, then every investment trust, ETF, ETN that uses that patented technology without his permission for profit potentially is infringing.
So even if they're not using the technology, but they're investing in the technology, that can also be an infringement in this situation, correct?
He's investing in it without using it, knowing what the technology. Let's walk through, let's say, use Ethereum as an example. Okay. Let's say the patented technology is the payment system for transfer of value. Okay. How can you invest in Ethereum without infringing on the technology? You give me an example.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, the only thing I can think of is they're buying that token up, or whatever that value is.
Where would you buy it from?
You would have to buy it from either. That's a good question. Either the buyer, well, you have to buy it from the seller, who's ever on this exchange. Actually, now I'm kind of stumped now.
Well, let's walk through it. It's not a trick question. I just want you to walk through the logic. I could be wrong. I don't want to be wrong because I don't like being wrong, but I could be wrong. So let's just walk through it logically. So I have Ethereum. Either I'm a personal seller, my name is Reggie, or I'm Coinbase. Okay. You send $1,000 to Coinbase and you get 1/2 F back. Okay. And you put that F into your wallet. Okay. The transaction mechanism in F, the payment of the validator or the proof of work mining, is patented. Okay. Which means you have to have that block mined or validated in order to get the F into your wallet. Am I correct?
Correct.
Then that's an infringement.
So then in that scenario though, wouldn't everybody that uses Coinbase be infringing on that?
I know Coinbase, if that scenario is true in this hypothetical. Coinbase,
well, I mean any individual that, is in that place buying that Ethereum from Coinbase, like me, regular Marlon, if I'm, giving that, if I'm trading again my $1,000 to get that half of ETH, am I not also infringing on the IP? If just looking at it from a B2C situation?
Okay, so I'm not an IP lawyer. I'm not a lawyer at all. So that's
this is all hypotheticals.
Okay, it's a hypothetical, but I'm going to give I'm going to give it how I understand it. But I'm not a lawyer, so it's not legal opinion, analysis, or anything else, or advice. But Coinbase is the one selling you the Ethereum. Okay, correct. So you wouldn't be infringing because someone is selling you patented IP that they don't own and don't have permission to sell. Coinbase would be infringing. Okay. Now, if you're not Marlon, but you are Purple Scale ETF, okay, you purchase that Ethereum, for profit to sell exposure to other people. When you purchase it, you either purchase it through a proof of work or proof of stake system, and may have used a smart contract or via the virtual machine, which meant you used the machine that was patented, you'd be infringing.
Got you. And that's because I'm selling shares of what I'm holding, which uses that technology, correct? Or I'm
Right, well,
selling those units.
That's where the profit came in. But if you actually access the actual tokens through the machine, and the machine was patented, okay, and you use the machine to get those tokens, as I understand it in my non-intellectual, non-legal mind, just a dad point of view. Speaking of which, goodbye, my daughter. Hey, come here, my beautiful daughter. Come here, babe. My youngest child.
Oh, we got a guest today.
Mathematical
Hello
genius
there.
compared to her father, but her father's not good at math. So have a good day, baby.
I don't know. I think your whole clan is all a bunch of geniuses.
They are quite smart. I have 3 kids. They're actually very, very smart. Part of the reason is because they know everything. They know everything. I don't need
all
Google.
in their hands.
They know it. But now that infringement risk or potential infringement liability would never exist if you were gathering stocks or you were gathering bonds, because those are actual securities. Okay, crypto is a technology, and technologies always come with, not always, but often, and I think possibly always come with some type of intellectual property claim to them, because the technology itself is intellectual property. They're ideas that came up through the intellectual effort of one or more persons. It could be copyright, it could be trademark, it could be some type of work product, it could be patented IP, etc. Those risks are inherent, but everybody's just treating this as it's a Wall Street security. The price is going up and down. I think 2022, early 2033 is going to be the year where a lot of people are being shaken up and brought back to reality.
So you think it'll take about 10 years before we hit that point? Or you said 23 or 30?
Yeah, no, it take a couple of months, actually. 30 to 90 days, it will start, I think, and it's going to stretch on throughout the year and next year. Now, to put this into perspective now, let's suppose I'm correct, and this ETF and these investment trusts aren't infringing on intellectual property. And let's suppose they've been alerted to it, or they should have known, then they're open to punitive damages, not just compensatory damages, which means not only do they have to pay back a licensing fee that they should have paid or would have paid, but they were willfully infringing. So they have to pay a punitive damage if the court says so. Okay?
Right.
And when they pay, you invest in this ETF or this investment trust, okay? The trust itself is infringing. Who pays for the litigation fees for the patent dispute? And if they lose, who pays for the actual damages?
It's going to be the people who invested in it, really. They're going to lose their money.
100%. 100%. As a matter of fact, investment trusts have an investment manager, and there is no money for ongoing operations because these are not operating entities. Their sole purpose is to manage the investments of somebody else. And if it's a single purpose, if it's a single vehicle trust like Bitcoin or Ethereum, there's nothing to do but buy Bitcoin or buy Ethereum. And so if they get served and they get challenged, right, they don't have an operating budget to handle this. And most of them have indemnification clauses that say if we get in trouble, the investors have to indemnify us. That means that as it is, a lot of them are going to track or trail the price of Ethereum and Bitcoin by X% because you have management fees from, basis points up to like 3%, 2 or 3%, which is outrageous. Because what are you paying for? Someone to buy Bitcoin, which is exactly what you do, right?
And you're probably paying a higher price point at that point anyway, too.
Right. That's true in the spread. And number two, the indemnification clause means you pay everything. You pay for the initial lawyer, you pay for back and forth. Chances are nobody's going to sue the trust unless they think the trust is actually infringing. They have a strong case. And if that's the case, there's a significant chance of loss. So you're going to take all that risk. Let's suppose the trust does this say $7 billion assets under management, and it has a 2.5%, or let's say a 3% management fee, just to round it off. Okay, at $7 billion, that is 10% of seven. That's $210 million a year, right? They've been infringing for 2 years. They knew about it, should have known about it. That $210 million times 3, that is $630 million. Okay, that's $630 million. They owe a significant chunk of that, right, as infringement costs, potentially triple. And that comes directly out of the trust investors' money. It wouldn't have been so much easier just to buy ETH.
You're almost taking on more risk buying the trust units.
You're taking on a lot more risk, you know.
And I have the indemnifications page that you had brought up, that you had tweeted about. I think it was today or yesterday, and you highlighted the trust enters into certain contacts that provide a variety of indemnities, including contracts with the sponsors and affiliates of the sponsor. So when it comes to most trusts, they would put out any risk that may be associated with that asset, correct?
Say that one more time.
I'll say with most trusts, not looking at the crypto trust, they would put in the type of risk that they're open to with their investments, correct?
Right. They should. And yet, if they don't, then they open themselves up to a lawsuit from the shareholders or the trust unit holders.
Right. So in the case of, and again, we're just looking at what's there and what's not there. In the case of Grayscale, do they have those risks included in their indemnifications or any of their, investor relation documents?
If you go through the screenshots that I sent you, one of them it was the one right before this. Keep scrolling through, keep right there. What does that say?
So the sponsor is not aware of any intellectual property rights claims that may prevent the trust from operating and holding ETH. Incidental rights are IR virtual currency. However, third parties may assert intellectual property rights claims relating to the operation of the trust and the mechanics instituted for the investment in, holding in, and transfer of ETH. So regardless of the merit of any IP or any legal action, any legal expenses to defend or payments to settle such claims will be extraordinary expenses that would be borne by the trust through the sale or transfer of its ETH.
Basically they'll sell F to pay to defend themselves against something that they should have known existed.
But if they're going to sell that, then what's the investors' money doing sitting there then?
No, that is your money.
Right, because
the money's not sitting there. The money's gone. They're selling ETH to create USD fiat to pay lawyers to defend against something. I think I've been pretty public about my stance on this. And even if I haven't, these are investment professionals, and I think they have a duty of care and fiduciary duty to see if they're selling something that belongs to somebody else. But I'm not a lawyer, so what I think is irrelevant because, I'm just a dad.
Hey, I don't know. Dads are right a lot of times,
Not according to their kids, they're not. But
and I'm surprised. I didn't even know that they had just more than Ethereum in their portfolio. So they're offering Basic Attention Coin, Chainlink, Decentraland, Horizon, Litecoin. I didn't even Solana. They've been stacking up.
Well, I can tell you what we've analyzed and have reports on. The reports range from about 67 pages to about 120 pages each. Very, very thorough. We've been analyzing the market since the Japanese patent was first issued, and that was in 2000, late 2000, early 2001. Okay, we've been studying the market with a fine-tooth comb. As a matter of fact, we're going to release analysis on other patents that cover this stuff that don't belong to our patent family. Okay, the risk is real, and it's not just the Veritasium grant, and it's not really a risk with us because we want to do business with everybody. Okay, but not everybody wants to do business. I can't speak for other patent holders and what they have. I have an idea of what they want. One wants to put business into their particular chain. That would be the BSV. The others simply just want, the other one that we've looked at simply just wants to be paid for the ideas. Okay, which is fair enough. It's their ideas. We have personally, our entities have a goal of not to disrupt the industry and or plan not to disrupt the industry, and a goal to further the industry towards the aim of peer-to-peer capital markets and autonomous finance. There are a lot of forces who don't want that. I'm not going to name them, but you can figure out who they are. So we have Solana reports, we have Axie Infinity reports, we have Ethereum reports, Uniswap, Compound, etc. Okay, those are individual reports. If you think of some of the reports, a lot of them are platform. Ethereum, Solana, Ripple, etc. Just Ethereum alone covers much of what's on that list. If you have a project that runs on a machine that's patented by somebody else, your project infringes by running on that machine. Some of those projects, in our opinion, have a potential of infringing, okay, as a project itself, and then run on a separate machine that we believe has a potential of infringing. So just to be clear, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody saying anybody specifically infringes on my IP. I'm giving research, analytics, and hypotheticals.
Right.
Okay.
Understood. So let's take a look at some of the comments real quick. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's see, we got one comment. So from Jake Fever, I'm trying to see if Reggie understands that crypto, quote unquote, well, in parentheses, Bitcoin, make patent infringement irrelevant. There is no recourse if someone infringes.
No, I don't understand that. I don't understand that. So he will have to bring, his understanding to bear so I can, understand it. Saying there's no recourse for patent infringement, in my opinion, shows that he doesn't understand how patent infringement works and how patent law works. For instance, Coinbase makes a lot of revenue from Bitcoin. Let's assume Bitcoin infringed. Do you mean to tell me that that commenter believes that there's no recourse for Coinbase's $20 billion a year worth of cash flow if they're using something that infringes and a court finds them guilty of infringement? It's a lot of recourse.
It is. I don't want to speak for him. I just think more so, when people have the idea that, it's crypto is supposed to be quote unquote unregulated, that if you do have an IP for something, what's really going to happen if somebody infringes. But I do think that may be somewhat of a ignorant comment, because like you say,
I didn't want to say it, but you said it for me. So
and no disrespect. And no disrespect to Jake Fever. I got the shirt on, so I appreciate it, Jake. But
so it's like this. A court of law is not a regulatory agency. So it doesn't really matter whether it's regulated or not. If I go up and I smack you on stage, break your jaw, knock your teeth out, and you sue me for assault, right? And you have a criminal action for assault. That has nothing to do with regulation. You broke the law. You assaulted me. I want to get paid for it, and the cops may come and carry you away. Those are not regulations. That's law. Okay. Right. So if Coinbase is using somebody else's stuff, if they're taking somebody else's property or using it without permission, it has nothing to do with the regulation. Coinbase is not allowed to do that, and neither is anybody else. You can even sue the federal government for infringement. As a matter of fact, there's a regulatory agency whose enforcement arm I feel has been rather zealous. I'm not going to name the agency, okay? And that agency, as I understand it, is wide open for potential infringement. Wide open. And they're a regulatory agency. To go to show you how uninformed that statement is, regulation and law are not synonymous.
Right.
Now, you do have some regulations that are codified in law, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah, that's something that I think will be a whole another episode about.
Yeah. And I'm not a lawyer. We could get lawyers to discuss that stuff.
Right. We got another episode for that not for us, but there's another shout out to Law Mitigation on the channel as well. But Reggie, that's all I have for the day. Do you have anything else that you want to leave a touching point on before we close out for the day?
I mean, there's a lot, but let's say anybody wants to discuss this, by the way, as long as you're polite and professional, at Reggie Middleton on Twitter, let's hash it out. Let's talk. Anything in the comments?
Not right now. Pretty slow today. Everybody just kind of saying what's up. No, not much questions today.
Okay. It's amazing because, this is a hard hitting topic, lots of facts. And, it's amazing that there's not a lot of traffic in it, particularly in the mainstream media again. Cointelegraph put a tweet that Uniswap is doing $1 trillion worth of trade volume and has ignored the fact that I believe that Uniswap has potentially infringed our IP. Okay.
Yeah, and I seen that, and it was over. They said it was only over, well, a little less than, I say only, but a little less than 4 million addresses too, and they did that all within 3 years.
Yeah.
So and when was that patent filed again? 2014.
2014. As a matter of fact, what was Uniswap, or what people perceive to be the benefit of Uniswap, we invented in 2013. We actually had it running on CNBC in 2014, early 2014. I got a video of it right on CNBC. So, kudos to Uniswap, because the more that the media, attempts to conceal this, and the deeper Uniswap goes, Uniswap is like a sleep agent for us. They're just putting ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper. So, kudos.
People don't like to talk about the stuff until somebody gets exposed or anything. You know how that goes. I feel like it's just what I think. I feel like once you finally have somebody that comes to light or talk, or finally has that conversation with you, granted it would be behind closed doors, but once it is made public, I think that's when you'll start to get some attention. At least that's just my opinion.
Well, I don't need attention. It's just that.
Well, it's not the attention. It's just, we're just talking about the coverage of everything, the news of everything getting out. That's all.
Well, like I said, this decentralized technology is about as centralized as can get, much more so than Wall Street now. And there's a reason why it's not getting out, but it's an extreme strategic error in hiding it. Okay. They're benefiting the entities that they're attempting to push down. And I felt it seems obvious to me, but it's neither here or there. It's not like, I'm doing this for popularity. So I'm actually doing this to create the capital markets. So, I want those 10-year-old kids in Abuja and Lagos and Nairobi and, small countries and towns in Pakistan and all these other places that have been marginalized to have that intellectual capital come to fore and be able to compete directly with the so-called cream of the crop, and from Goldman Sachs on Wall Street and, London, Tokyo, etc. Truly, truly democratized markets. I'd love to see that. You see the world become a smarter, better place. But let me get off my soapbox, though, because, democracy and capitalism, please, how dare I?
How dare you go against the grain, sir? So I think we do have a couple questions that rolled in. But go over just a couple of these before we end it out. From where'd it go? From Seba Brown. So Reggie, is this a global issue or a U.S. issue?
Well, it's an issue of attempting to Wall Streetify or financialize technology. The technology could be used for financial things, but Wall Street is getting a hold of something, and Wall Street's primary focus is the bonus pool. Period. Okay, so they want to take something that's technology based and make it tradable, so they could charge fees, spreads, and transaction costs. That is global, but it's concentrated in very, very small areas. Right now, it's primarily the US. It's Wall Street. Okay, but it's going to leak into London. Okay, and in Tokyo, and possibly Beijing, the big financial centers. Okay, but right now it's Wall Street, but it's going to reverberate globally. And the way the technology is put together, everything is global. Ethereum is marketed as a global computer, a giant state machine. If it's a global computer, then it's going to be very, very difficult to start saying, well, this jurisdiction, this patent is not valid in XYZ jurisdiction. Well, if you're using an American invention that's connected in America, then you are potentially infringing. The way this is put together makes it very difficult to exclude little bits and pieces, like things have been done traditionally in, other technology disputes, such as calculators or, widgets, because widgets don't span the world. Again, I'm not a lawyer. It's just my layman's understanding as a dad. I need to stop saying that too. My kids are old. My oldest son is your age, so I need to stop saying that.
I don't know. Once you're a dad for life. So last question from Local TX. Reggie, what is your in-game results? What are you seeking? Financial payment, acknowledgement, credit? We've answered that before, but if you want to just answer that one last time, I guess.
I could care less about acknowledgement, care less about credit. That's not, if you really care, just look it up. You can tell. I do want to be paid for what's mine. I don't want people taking things from me. But my actual end game is, as I said before, I want to create truly meritorious peer-to-peer capital markets. That's my goal. That's what I got into it for. That was my initial goal. And that's still the case. Nothing has changed. It's been a lot of pushback from regulatory bodies to other competitors, et cetera. But still where I am.
Hey, and it's going to be a fight to keep pushing. And I'm definitely here supportive for you, Reggie. And we'll keep tracking this as we go along this journey, sir.
Anybody who truly believes in crypto should be standing right next to me fighting along. Okay? And I'm not like totally anti-centralized, because that's unrealistic. But if you believe in centralized power controlling the world in in 2 or 3 hands, then you're probably sitting opposed to me ideologically. I want everybody to get a chance. I'm the underdog demographically. I didn't go to Harvard Business School. I didn't trade on the Goldman prop desk. I'm a Black man, et cetera, et cetera. So I am not the demographic that's supposed to sit there and control the world. And I'm not looking to control the world. I'm actually looking to have the world allow for survival of the fittest, meritorious compensation through true capitalism. Charles Darwin's my man.
I got you. And I think with that, Reggie, we'll go ahead and end the show for this week. As always, great time with you, sir. And to everybody else, like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you all next week. Have a good one.
Okay, talk to me at Reggie Middleton on Twitter.
There it is. So you can see me